Hello, everybody. Welcome back to my Daily Dose with Tim. Today is season 3, episode 32. Also, it is part 2 of how to execute lease options the right way. And so today we're going to go into what I call the 3 factors, because a lot of the times people are always wondering, okay, so I sort of understand from an investor's perspective why I like lease options and why I want to include that into my portfolio, other than the fact that it contributes to all 3 different income buckets. And that's just the strategy that everybody loves, which is also why so many investors can actually build a very long and sustainable business just by executing this one particular strategy alone. And so on that note, today I'm going to take a different look in terms of, well, who actually would fit into this strategy. So in a way, it's, who are our tenant buyers and why would they want to do this? And so let's quickly go back and talk about why lease option is a potential solution for people. And for what people? I mean, let's just break it down and make it very, very simple. I always say this: whenever I get to speak to a potential tenant buyer, remember, we don't call them tenants, they're not buyers yet. It's a hybrid word, tenant buyer. So again, lease with the option to purchase, so they're tenant buyers. So whenever I actually get to speak to a potential prospective tenant buyer, sometimes, actually more often than not these days, I'm pretty straightforward, very much an open book, and I'm very direct with people because I don't believe in beating around the bush. And so I will usually let them know at some point in the conversation, especially when they're starting to question things, and obviously in a nice way and in a polite and logical way when this happens to come up, contextually speaking. So I will typically say, well, let's look at it this way. We wouldn't be having this conversation if you could just walk into a bank or work with a mortgage broker and get traditional lending now, meaning getting a mortgage now. And so let's focus on that just for a second there. Getting a mortgage these days is basically one of the most essential, if not the most crucial component in the journey of becoming a homeowner or buying any sort of properties. So for most of these people, they are buying their home, which means their principal residence, okay? And so for everybody, it doesn't matter if it's rental properties or principal residence, there are 3 different factors that typically have to come together. So sometimes I will draw it in a circle, but I don't want to confuse everybody now because we just talked about the wheel of wealth again. So I'm just going to say the 3 different factors. I'm going to list them out, okay? Is what we call income, credit, and down payments. Income, credit, and down payment. So these are typically the 3 different factors that every single one of us, at the very least, as far as I know, in North America and most English-speaking countries, need to have to satisfy a lender to grant them a loan. And again, in different countries, there are different criteria. However, I'm going to leverage the Canadian system as my demonstration here, just because that's the country that I live in, and this is the country that I've executed the most number of lease options in. I've also done this in the UK already, and so a little different there, but we may be going there when we are talking about creative financing. And I know that's a topic that many of you are wanting for me to cover. And honestly, though, I love creative financing because technically speaking, this particular strategy is a creative financing strategy. It's just that there's a bit more moving parts. And also, we are using this particular lease option model as an exit strategy. Now, creative financing typically happens during the acquisition stage. So if you have watched the previous episodes, you understand the anatomy or the progress of a typical deal. And if you haven't, make sure you go back to season 3, episode 1, and really catch yourself up so that a lot of these dots will actually connect properly for you. So coming back here though, income, credit, down payment. These are the 3 key factors. Now, income, a lot of the times people tend to think that, oh, it's just basically how much they make. Yes and no. Obviously, the more you make, the better chances, logically speaking, you will have However, again, most people are trapped in what we call the rat race. The more we make, the more we spend. And I know I was trapped in that circle and trapped in that cycle as well. It's kind of like a mental and emotional treadmill that gets very exhausting over time. However, it's just because it is the concept, and really keep worse these days. Instagram ads don't have the filter to filter through these things. I mean, I love social media. I love social media for the fact that you get to have quick feed of information, because that's really what I use it for. And I also use it to share information and knowledge and experiences like this. However, most people, they simply just consume to no end. So the point is, income has a lot to do with what the lenders or the mortgage brokers or the banks would call their debt servicing ability. And so debt servicing ratio is a big thing, okay? So the most important thing that I want you to really think about and remember in a way is what we call debt servicing ratio. So at that point, it doesn't matter how much you make or how little you make. It has everything to do with the fact that you may have taken on more debt than you could have or should have in this case. Hopefully not a could have situation, should have. And so as a result, the lenders don't feel comfortable lending you the money, okay? And then from a credit standpoint, in the Canadian and American system, maximum credit score is 900. So in Canada and the US, typically speaking, we have Equifax and TransUnion, and there might be other smaller companies that are available in the US that will also report as credit bureaus on your credit score. However, the biggest two across North America typically are TransUnion and Equifax. So you're able to actually get access to a free credit report if you actually go onto their website and just submit your application, or they also have options where you can pay for monitoring and monthly reports automatically sent to you as well. So we can discuss later on, and that's a whole specific topic on its own as well. And we also have a small mini course on that through Trust Your Talent. So if that's something that you're looking for, make sure that you put it in the comments below, and then I'll share that too. We also have a credit document that we've created so that at least you can start to get to know the 5 different factors that add up to your credit score. And I've actually made a few episodes on this back in season, actually, I don't remember now if it's season 1 or season 2. However, again, I will post where you can find season 1 and season 2 on YouTube, and you can go back and review those if you don't want to wait for me to cover it in season 3 again. So coming back here though, typically speaking, when it comes to tenant buyers, we always say that, well, chances are their credit score is not great. However, you don't really need extremely amazing credit scores to actually qualify for a mortgage. Most mortgage brokers will say 620 is generally acceptable these days. However, we always prefer to get you or the tenant buyers to the 680 mark upon qualification. Some of you looking at those numbers are going, oh my God, that's actually really low, because mine's at 725 right now. And I already thought that was low because my friends are at 800s. And so here's the funny thing. And I actually literally saw one of my trainers and my mentors lost his marbles on a student that was challenging him on this. And he basically at the end just went, if your credit score is over 700 points at any given point, that means you're probably a bad investor. I have never, ever heard him say anything like that, at least that directly and that bluntly to anybody, because typically he is kind and gentle and in the way he delivers messages. However, now you understand, because we always say when it comes to credit, it's better to have it and not need it than to need it and not have it. Okay, remember that once again. I'm going to say it once again. So ingrain that in your head, like imprint that in your head, or take a note, write it down. Okay, when it comes to credit, it's better to have it and not need it than to need it and not have it. And so what that means is an investor, a smart investor, especially when it comes to the topic, once again, of raising funds. It's better to have it and not need it than to need it and not have it. And so what that means is as soon as you know that your credit score is at a decent level, continue to gain access to credit. Continue to gain access to credit. It's an urban myth that if you have too much credit lying around and you're not using it, it's going to hurt your credit score. Again, go and watch the credit score episodes from before. Okay, I'm gonna put that here so you can find them, because that just goes to show you exactly what the lenders are looking for. Okay, now, am I going to dispute the fact that the higher the credit score, the more favorable the terms and the rates may be? No, I am not going to argue that, because that's simply a fact. Okay, so again, there are different ways for investors to really approach even their own credit score. I remember, playing with my credit score like a jump rope or like a yo-yo, to understand how to actually make my credit scores go up when I need it to. Okay, because when I don't need it to, I'm simply actively doing deals, which means I'm actively seeking loans and getting credit checks and all that. And that's okay, because over time, you're going to build up that muscle. You're going to build up that muscle so that you are able to keep using your credit and expand and grow your portfolio. And last but not least, when it comes to down payment, if you're doing rentals, obviously, it is minimum 20%. However, for our tenant buyers, typically speaking, as what the Canadian government is asking for is 5% down payment, and then they will be able to end up with an insured mortgage through a major lender. Okay, so with that said, income, credit, and down payment, all three factors need to come together. Okay, all three factors need to come together. If you're missing one of them, chances are that might be the reason why you have a tenant buyer in front of you, because sometimes they will say, you know what, we make good money and we've actually controlled our debt load really well. And after checking it with a mortgage broker, for example, you find out that that is true. And they actually did their job and saved up to 5%. However, maybe the credit score is not where it needs to be. And why? Well, because a lot of people actually don't quite understand how credit works and how credit scores are actually scored. And so they may have made silly, stupid decisions in the past. I'm not going to sugarcoat that. And again, sometimes they're fully aware and sometimes they're not. Okay, I remember walking down the campus in my late teens, early 20s, and there are always these gyms and grocery stores and department stores that will come on campus to do different fairs or student orientation days or career days, and they get you to apply for credit cards. And when you apply for a credit card, they give you a water bottle, they give you a $10 gift card, they give you a gym bag, they give you something. And at that age, when you're not educated, you just kind of go, sure, you know what? This is going to take me 3 minutes to fill out a piece of paper, and I'm going to get something for free. At that time, at that age, most of us like free stuff. Free stuff is good because it doesn't cost us money, because usually for most of us at that point in our lives, we are not making a lot, if any at all. And so we will start to sign our lives away, and some of us maybe don't know how to use and manage credits properly. We might be charging it, and then we forget to pay the bills a few times, and it starts to linger on our credit. Well, that basically will trickle down to down the road when you are looking to apply for something bigger. So for example, car loans or mortgages and other personal loans. I mean, car loans, I don't think they really care, to be really honest. However, anything directly with the bank, especially personal loans, line of credits, HELOCs, mortgages, they definitely care, because that's going to show up. And I know some of you might have heard this. It will fall off of your credit report after 7 years. And I'm just going to share this with you. This is what I've learned over the years and learned from different bankers, different mortgage brokers, different mortgage agents directly with banks and credit unions. They said, yeah, it's true. It's true what they say. However, it is also true that they get to see a whole lot more than just 7 years. Okay. So what that means is it goes away on paper. However, it never truly goes away once that's been attached to your social insurance number here in Canada, or in the US, social security numbers, or any other social systems that you have. Okay. And so these are the different factors, as I said, that are required for anybody to qualify for a loan. And so at this point, bringing it back to the whole concept of running a lease option program for our tenant buyers is that in 2 to 4 years time, we are going to help them perfect the trifecta. The three factors will align so that they are able to go and apply for the mortgage to successfully execute on their option to purchase and buy us out and become the homeowners on title. So knowing that now, who do you think are our potential tenant buyers? So I'm going to leave that question with you, and we're going to come back and explore that in the next episode. And so on that note, I want to quickly just comment on one thing, because a lot of people are going, why am I constantly mentioning multiple strategies and hard strategies and soft strategies again? Okay, so here's the thing. I remember, and again, you can see a lot of the things that I'm sharing, some of it I've sort of come up with based on my collective learning and experiences so far. A lot of it was already taught to me. So this is an analogy that one of my mentors actually came up with. So she goes that, I want you to think of financial education, even if you're leveraging real estate investing and real estate investing strategies to be your main vehicle to create multiple sources of income and wealth. I want you to see every single strategy as an ingredient, okay? So what that means is, let's just say, if this is a pot, okay, and we're cooking, we want to cook a few things up, and we do, right? Doing deals is like cooking things up, and having presentable and delicious meals is the result. And we want our financial results to be abundant and delicious too, right? So again, wholesale and assignment is like an ingredient. Lease options is an ingredient. Creative financing is an ingredient. Commercial property, industrial property, those are ingredients, okay? Income properties, single family homes or multi-unit residential, those are ingredients. Staging and design, that's an ingredient, okay? Because those are skills. What else is there? Raising funds. Those are all just ingredients. And what else? Lots of different things. Infills and development. That's also it. Again, fix and flip, okay? Or if you want to be more technical, distressed properties, okay? And then financing, regular financing versus creative financing. There's so many more that we can discuss. Mobile home parks is another one of those. Also on Thursday, I'm going to be sharing at the Right Club meetup about my first deal into the US, how I had zero money down, well, zero of my own money down to acquire a $5.2 million mobile home parks, 144 units in Texas, that over 14 months, I actually, using creative financing, actually lease options, using creative financing strategy to bring it up to a valuation of nearly 8.3 after 14 months. So I'm going to be sharing that. I'm also going to be doing a part 2 of that on June 29th as well. So I'll be sharing those links here if that's something that you're interested in. However, coming back here, okay, even asset protection and income protection and some of the business fundamentals, these are all skills like negotiations. You can see how many different strategies and skills a successful and long-term sustainable investor needs. And so this is why I've been saying, if you just have raising funds, if you just have distressed properties and the BRRRR process, yes, you can get something going. However, it's going to be basic and simple. And what that also means is you're not going to be able to scale and grow at the speed and at the pace that you need to. And so this is why we always say that it doesn't matter. In the beginning, at the very least, you need 3 hard skills and 3 soft skills to really make sure that you are protecting the portfolio that you're building from day one. Because let me share this with you. It's a lot easier to acquire, buy, and build something than it is to keep and continue to scale a business like this. And then what happens is having mentors and coaches. Having mentors and coaches to support you, okay, is kind of like the fire under the pot. They are helping us cooking things up. I mean, 13 years later, I still have mentors and coaches that help me with my mindset when it comes to business, when it comes to life. And I still have real estate mentors that will challenge me on the way I analyze deal, that acts as my second set of eyes. Sometimes all I need is a confirmation from my mentor. And that's exactly why it's so valuable, simply because of the fact that real estate is an amazing asset class. However, for most people, it's also a higher value asset class. It's harder to get in, which means when you know what it is that you're doing and you do it right, you get to make a lot of money. However, sometimes, more often than not, actually, when you make a mistake, it's actually going to cost you a whole lot more money, plus sleep, plus stress, plus a lot of other things. And so this is why, again, it is not to say it is not good for you to start to learn a couple of skills. However, what I firmly and fundamentally believe is that it is not enough nor sufficient for somebody who wants to truly leverage real estate to build long-term wealth with. And this is also one of the main reasons why most people don't believe that real estate investing is an amazing vehicle, an asset class for us to create financial independence and financial freedom with. Again, go back to the previous episodes of this season so that you understand exactly what I'm saying, because it has everything to do with the definitions of financial independence, financial freedom, and truly understand the wheel of wealth and how every single strategy in here contributes to rounding out your overall wealth in the short term, in the midterm, and in the long term for generational wealth. So I'm hoping that answers some of your questions and some of your comments there, because to me, this is why, honestly, this is truly why I've seen so many people come and go over the last 13 years, ever since I started getting myself educated. Because when people were laughing at me about why am I learning so many different strategies and just focus on one, I'm not going to, again, debate that either. I focused on lease options for the first year and a half first. However, as I started to go into other strategies, other markets, and other provinces, territories, states, and countries, all these different strategies, they all came together all at once. That's the thing. By the time you want to scale and you're doing one strategy at a time, it is, I'm not going to say it's too late. However, it's going to delay your growth. And then things are changing out there in the bigger environment. The economy is changing, the rates are changing, the inflation's changing, cost of labor, cost of materials are changing. Those are all factors that by the time you are reacting to it, you are literally just reacting to it. As an investor, we already know that there's no crystal ball. So the one thing that we have control over is everything here. So what that means is it allows us to pivot, to change, to grow, to adapt at the turn of a dime. In 2020, when lockdowns happened for COVID, everybody thought it was doom and gloom. However, I've shared this in the previous episodes and previous season as well. 2020 marked one of the best year in business for me, my business partners, and our entire portfolio. Because remember what Warren Buffett always says, when other people are greedy, be fearful. And when other people are fearful, be greedy. Okay. And so I hope that sheds some light for some of you. Okay, so with that said, I'm excited to come on the topic of lease option in the next episode. So think about it. Income, credit, and down payment. Income, credit, and down payment. As a result, who may be the ideal candidates? Who may be the ideal candidates as our tenant buyers for this particular strategy? On that note, I want to say thank you again for your engagement, for your comments, and for your feedback and your questions. Keep them coming, because this is really helping you, helping me, helping a lot of the other viewers, because I constantly get messages go, I really like that question. Who asked it? I'm never going to share your name, by the way. I'm going to keep everything private and confidential to protect your identity unless you tell me that I can share your name. Okay. However, the idea is I have people that constantly said, wow, that was a really great question. I never even thought about it. So it's almost making this more of a live interaction setting. So keep it coming, okay? And if you know anybody that can benefit from my Daily Dose with Tim, please invite them into the Talented Investors group. I would love to have them. We would love to embrace them and continue to add value to your journey, whether you're brand new to real estate investing or you're a seasoned investor, okay? So have a great rest of the day. I know it's Tuesday of the week now. We are getting the week going. Hopefully you've got some momentum. And enjoy the rest of your day. Live well, everyone. I'll see you back here at the next episode.